Introduction. I'm so glad to welcome you all again to the 28th Multiple Relays graduation ceremony of our new universal system, U.S. Tract. Black Horse and the Bible. Before I proceed to the main part of my speech, I'd like to say from the outset that the time frame we are living in today is commonly understood to be a time for the black horse. According to Revelation chapter 6 of the Hebrew Christian Bible, when the black horse rules the world, the prices of all goods and services will drop to near zero. You can read in Revelation chapter 6, 3-6. According to the passage, the first horse was a white horse, second horse was a red horse, and the third horse was a black horse. Most Bible scholars and historians understand the white horse to be Europe and America, etc., that ruled the world in that time. A red horse is understood to refer to China, Russia, and Iran. Black horse refers to indigenous black nations around the world, including ourselves. Before I go any further, let me state that I've come across many people over the years on internet and social media, etc., spitting on the Bible. A lot of our black nations, especially Africans and African Americans and other indigenous people, don't like the Bible. They accuse their white masters for using religion and Bible as a way of colonizing, oppressing, suppressing, or enslaving them. They claim that the Bible was manipulated by the Romans to enrich or promote white supremacy. But let me state categorically again that the Hebrew Christian Bible is indeed a book of life. I have personally walked through the Bible myself, from Genesis to Revelation, over and over, and again, and I have not found anything that is erroneous nor against the black race. There is no racial discrimination. There's no so-called white supremacy and no so-called black inferiority. I learned so many things about life when traveling from Genesis to Revelation and vice versa, which I cannot learn anywhere else. If there was no Bible, I would not understand the world as I do today. I would not have access to the universal laws, principles, and concepts of life as I do today. While reading powerful testimonies of those who went before me or before us, we learn so many things about life. We learn how God used ordinary people to become strong and mighty indeed, simply by hearing the voice of God and obeying it. Therefore, please do not listen to anyone who tells you to stop reading the Hebrew Christian Bible. Your life depends on it until such time that you have fully become the Word in you. Of course, there's no denial that when Europeans colonized us, they used the Bible to legitimize their control over us. We can't deny that, but there's a reason why they did that. And the Bible already predicted about all that. The Bible already predicted that the first horse to come will be the white horse, followed by the red horse, and thirdly, the black horse will come and rule too. You see, every race has been taken care of. First came the white horse that ruled the world. Second came the red horse that also ruled the world. And now, today, it's time for the black horse to also rise and rule the world. In other words, the Bible is very fair and just. It gives an opportunity to every race, every tribe, every clan, every language, every creed, every tongue, and every nation to rise up and be counted at their own appointed timings. So never ever be influenced by those black critics who condemn the Bible as a white man's book and cry foul about white supremacy, etc., etc. The Bible is very fair, just, and wholesome. Of course, during the reign of the white horse, all the interpretations of the Bible we received from them was according to how the respective church founders explained things to us. All the churches were or are still headquartered in the West. Catholic is headquartered in Rome, Vatican, or Italy. Lutheran is headquartered in Germany. Methodist or United Church is still headquartered in UK, England. SDA, JWs, Mormons, and Pentecostals are all headquartered in America. In fact, all Christian church founders are Europeans. The founders interpreted the Bible in the way they thought was correct, and then expanded to cover new territories, countries, and continents. That's how everything they gave us was painted white. Jesus Christ himself was painted as a white man. Even the angels were all painted white. Heaven was also painted white. In fact, over time, our subconscious began to associate white with heaven, purity, holiness, cleanliness, etc. In so doing, we also associated black with hair, dirt, impurity, Satan, hell, and so on. We saw ourselves as inferior because we were black. The education system further enforced all this in our minds and subconscious. But today, I tell you that there is no racial discrimination in the Bible. All racial discrimination were or are only interpretations of men. As I said, during the reign of the white horse, our colonizers interpreted the Bible according to their own ways of interpretations. There's no biblical instructions for white supremacy or black inferiority, etc., etc. No, those were or are mere interpretations and or manipulations by those in leadership. When the appointed time comes for the black horse to rule and reign, which is now, all those past interpretations of white supremacy and black inferiority, etc., etc., will also change accordingly. Our interpretation of life will also cover the whole world, if not already. The main differences between the white horse, red horse, and black horse are: 1, the white horse comes with a bow and arrow and a crown. That's exactly what happened. Bow and arrow speaks of weapons of warfare, guns, bullets, armories, laser wars, space wars, machine guns, tanks, grenades, chemical warfare, and so on. The crown refers to the kings and queens who keep ruling the world even today as we chat. For example, the Commonwealth is under Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom. That's how the white horse conquered the world and colonized us. Let's not hate them for colonizing us. They were only fulfilling their part of the prophecy and the mysteries of God, knowing or unknowingly. Our turn to colonize the world will also come, if not already. It's already happening via the mighty US track system. 2, the other difference is that the red horse comes with a great sword to kill and to destroy. That has already happened. Russia and China now have very powerful weapons of warfare, space technology, chemical warfare, etc., etc. Too many to mention. Through communism and so on, they covered and ruled their own world. The third difference is that the black horse will rule and reign with a pair of balances or scales. It will not rule in the same way as the white and red horses ruled. Our case is unique. We will only rule and reign with a pair of balances or pair of scales. Do you know what a pair of scales is? We will balance everything so well and rule the earth in such a way that the masses from every nation, kindred, and creed will run to us on their own. We will not force ourselves into their territories like they did to us. No. They will run to us for help, and we will also go to them and help them out. It's a fair deal. The pair of balances or pair of scales used by the black horse to rule and reign simply means that we will treat everyone on the planet equally, justly, and fairly. Everyone from every race, continent, country, tongue, or religion, or creed, etc., will be treated with fairness and justice. 4. The other difference is that when the black horse reigns, there will be abundance and surplus of funds such as never ever seen before. The price of every good and service will be set down to almost nothing. It will happen just as it happened before during Elijah's time. You know the powerful testimonial story of the 4 lepers or street beggars who went to the enemy's camp, saying, "Oh, if we go into the city, we will also die of starvation. If you remain sitting here, we will also die of starvation. Why don't we go to the enemy's camp and see if they can give us some food? If they kill us, it's still okay, for we shall still die one way or another." The Bible says, as the 4 beggars approached the enemy's camp, God multiplied the noise so highly such that the enemy thought the king of Israel had hired other powerful kings of Arab and was coming to kill them all. When the 4 beggars arrived, there was not even one single person in the camp, because everyone dashed off in a hurry, leaving all the gold, raiment, jewels, food, money, etc., etc. The beggars saw a great miracle and helped themselves with all the food they could eat. Then they went and broke the news to the rest of the city dwellers, who also rushed to the scene and helped themselves with all the abundance and surplus food lying around. That's the kind of miracle that has been exclusively reserved for the rule and reign of the Black Horse. That time is here now. That's why I'm graduating you now, because very soon the disbelieving world out there will be rushing to Tono City and to Bougainville for food, money, abundance, and surplus as never before. So again, don't listen to those who try to dissuade you from reading the Bible. Keep reading with an open mind, and God will speak to you as you walk from Genesis to Revelation, and vice versa. Follow my example and you'll never be the same again. My only advice is, do not read the Bible with the same interpretation imposed on you by your colonizers. Read it with an open mind and ask God in prayer to give you the correct interpretation so you can arise and shine in your capacity as a child of God. The prophecy of Peter Daniel, 1994. After having said all this, let me now explain that every big thing that happens in the world must first be spoken of or prophesied through or by prophets before it happens. God Almighty uses the mouths of prophets to speak things that are about to happen, and they do happen. I have spoken of many indigenous prophecies over the past from our ancestors, grandparents, chiefs, and elders, and so on. But today I will only touch on this certain prophecy from Europe, 58 years before the birth of US system. I have deliberated on this prophecy many times before, but I feel it's important for me to touch on it again to explain the coming, the ruling, and the reigning of the Black Horse. I have mentioned in my previous speeches the powerful prophecy of Peter Daniel from the country of Bulgaria, Europe. The man prophesied in 1944, just before his death, that in the next few decades there will arise a new civilization from the isles of the Pacific that will bring the world to its long-awaited golden age of humanity. You can read the entire prophecy on the internet by typing in the words, the last prophecy of Peter Daniel for the end time. I'm going to spend some time analyzing his prophecy in some detail because it specifically points to what we are doing today in Jewish tract system. I think this prophecy is important because it was made by a European prophet about the isles of the Pacific, which we all know is a land of black people. In other words, if an outsider or someone under the rule reign of the White Horse prophesies that there's coming another civilization that will bring the world to its golden age of humanity, we can only thank God for it. God is no respecter of persons. He chooses and appoints whoever he wants according to his own master plan, mysteries, and omniscience. Prophet Peter Daniel made some very astounding, specific, and accurate predictions. One of them is the term "in the next few decades," which could mean 50 or 60 years. Anyone who understands the English language knows very well that the term "in the next few decades" cannot be more than 80, 90, or 100 years. It has to be just about 50 or 60 years. And sure enough, U.S. track system was birthed in the Isles of the Pacific exactly 58 years after his prophecy. Anyone with the slightest knowledge of mathematics knows that 1998 minus 1944 equals 58. Another specific term he used were the words, "It will arise from the Pacific." Again, the whole world knows where exactly the Isles of the Pacific is located. It's not in the continents of America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, or Middle East. The Isles of the Pacific is located right here in our region of Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia. The other specific term he used were the words, "A new continent will be formed for it." Can you imagine that? Do you think it's possible to create a new continent in the Isles of the Pacific? My friends, with quantum science and modern technology, it's now very easy to create new continents. All it needs is money. And I now have the money and the monetary system to create a new continent for ourselves, just as prophesied. In fact, I'm already in the process of creating a new continent in the Isles of the Pacific. Just in case you are not aware, I'm now a partner on a 50-50 basis with a certain professor of quantum science who's got all the necessary technology to create a brand new land, brand new atolls, brand new islands, and a brand new continent. The technology has the capacity. The technology has the capacity to hit certain things deep under the sea floor and cause the land to rise up and become an island or continent. In other words, we are going to create a new continent right here in the Pacific. The technology is already available and I'm providing 100% funding for it. My partner provides the technology and I provide the funding. In other words, as financier, I now have the necessary technology in my hands to create a new continent for it. Simple mathematics. The other very specific term that Prophet Peter Delnov made was in reference to the law of love. His prophecy was so specific about love as the only main focus of the new system or new continent that is rising from the Pacific. Specifically, he said, the Earth, the solar system, and the universe are all being put into a new direction under the impulsion of love. Most of you still consider love as a derivative force, but in reality, the love is the greatest of all forces. The money and power continue to be evaluated as if the course of your life depended on it. But in the future, he says, all will be subjugated to the law of love and all will serve it. But it is through suffering and difficulties that the consciousness of man will be awakened. And you all know that the last four currencies of our Eustack system are called love and mercy, joy and peace. Just as there's Kina and Toya, dollar and cents, pounds and shillings, we also have love and mercy, joy and peace. You also know that our Eustack Constitution has 2 chapters. Chapter 1 is love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. Chapter 2 is love your neighbor, just as you love yourself. Again, confirming that Peter Delnov's prophecy is directly fulfilling now before our eyes as we take part of it. The prophecy also predicted 3 other important foundations. In his own words, he said, a new culture will see the light of day. It will rest on 3 principal foundations. He says, 1 is elevation of women, 2 is elevation of the meek and humble, and 3, the protection of the rights of man. You all know that all these 3 foundations are already part and parcel of our system. In our matrilineal society, women are already highly elevated because they are the owners of everything. They enjoy ownership and inheritance of all land and assets, while men only have power and authority. There is equal participation. Even the second foundation he mentioned, which is the elevation of the meek and humble, is exactly what we are doing here through Eustack system. We are turning ordinary people, street beggars, grassroots, so-called meek and humble into multi-millionaires. The third foundation he mentioned in his prophecy was the protection of the rights of man. And you all know that U.S. flag was designed to protect the rights of man. Most of you, once upon a time, were oppressed, suppressed, and treated as nobodies under the other system. But today, you are multi-millionaire governors, ministers, ambassadors, bankers, soldiers, prayer warriors, farmers, nurses, sisters, doctors, mechanics, electricians, pastors, and so on. You have the right to have multi-millions. Becoming a multi-millionaire or billionaire is no longer a privilege, but a right. It's your right to be rich. I'm only giving you the opportunity through the system so you can rise up and be counted as somebody. The other thing that Peter Downlow mentioned was what he called a new culture. In other words, he talked about a totally new culture or lifestyle that will arise in the midst of this civilization based on the King's Code of Ethics, Constitution of Love, currencies of love, mercy, and joy, peace, and so on. Consciousness through suffering. One final thing that I like to mention from Peter Downlow's prophecy is the fact that he emphasized on the fact that it is through suffering and difficulties that the consciousness of man will be awakened to accomplish these things in the new civilization. In other words, there's no other way that we can accomplish all these things unless or until our consciousness is awakened. And the only way to awaken our consciousness is usually to go through suffering and difficulties. It's the only proven way. Show me someone who has not gone through any suffering or difficulties in life, and I know straight away that the guy is highly unqualified. For it's only through sufferings and difficulties that we can really qualify to transform the world for the better. For instance, Bougainvilleans are now qualified to arise with their own sovereign monetary and governing system because of the many decades of sufferings and difficulties they've been through, fighting for their freedom, independence, sovereignty, and civilization. I too, as the king, leader or head of state, have gone through my people. I did not just come here this morning from another planet to lead my people. Although I was originally outside of Bougainville, studying overseas during the first part of the crisis or revolution, I have experienced more pain, sufferings, and difficulties just like everybody else, if not more. I have identified myself with everyone else experiencing the same pain, sufferings, gunshots, bloodshed, threats, intimidation, police raids, and so on. I've also experienced things that none of them have experienced, including court cases against governments and central banks, search and arrest warrants, bank raids, newspaper mockeries, ridicules, extradition orders, persona non grata declarations by embassies and high commissions, and so on. Too many to mention here. Again, in the words of Prophet Peter Downlow, it's only through these sufferings and difficulties that the leaders of the new civilization will emerge from the islands of the Pacific to create a new continent and a new culture for the entire world. You've heard me saying over the years that the commercial banks or central banks, government of PNG, World Bank, IMF, UN, etc., not come against me, I would not have created the new system of the world for the world. I was forced to create. I was forced to create a new system only because there was no other option for me but to create a totally new system. As I always say, when the commercial banks in PNG closed or froze my accounts and funds, I was forced to create my own commercial banks. When the central bank of PNG came against me, I said I will also create my own central bank then. Likewise, when the Fed or World Bank or IMF ridiculed me, I said I will also create my own world banks. Same with the UN. When the UN said it did not recognize, it did not recognize my government, I said, okay, I'll create my own United Nations equivalent then. That's why I created the Iran, World Assembly of Nations in Kingdom. You see, it's only through sufferings and difficulties that we are able to raise or awaken our consciousness and create our new civilization. For it's it's the only way to match, equalize, and replace the draconian system with our own heavenly system. Let us therefore be thankful to our God in heaven for his mysteries, master plan, and omniscience, instructing and enabling us to create and finance our own freedom, independence, sovereignty, and civilization. Let me be a little more specific. Recently, I saw someone made a comment on social media stating that the king will soon die. Another one said the king has asthma and will die soon. There are so many things our critics say which you can only brush aside as ignorant, stupid, or foolish. Let me start with the word pain. Many of you don't understand that I have reached a stage where I cannot feel any pain whatsoever in my physical body. You might not believe this, but this is the truth. The fact that I have been carrying the weight of the entire government and in fact the whole world upon my shoulders for more than 20 years now has made me become unfeeling. I cannot feel any more pain such that even if you shoot me, I will still not feel anything. It's like I have become numb and insensitive. I might just feel that something has hit me but will not feel the pain of it. For instance, on 21/11/2006, a certain bullet from an M16 rifle hit me on my left jaw. Here. I only felt that something had touched or hit me, but did not really feel the pain of it. I might have swallowed the hot bullet, but did not feel any more pain other than seeing a sudden gush of blood from my cheeks. I walked over to the other admin block and then down to the gulf or drain where we laid for a couple of hours before walking up to the other side of the Tuli River and then onto Mohawk Village. Along the way, I could see one of my right-hand bodyguards, who was also shot on one of his arms, was shouting in pain, and I was wondering how and why I was not in pain like him. He was really shouting in pain because it was too painful. I was thinking, I probably should be in more pain because I've been shot on my own head or jaw, but how comes I'm not in pain? Once at Mohawk Village, I remember my governor of Central Bank, Superintendent, asking me, how are you feeling? Is it really painful? I remember telling him, no, I'm not in pain at all. I can only feel like I'm numb as I'm insensitive to any forms of pain. The fact that I've been carrying the whole world of US tract with my hands upon my shoulders has made me become numb or insensitive to all kinds of pain. It's just like when you are running a long distance or cross-country race. Now, during the time you are running, you can step on sharp stones, broken bottles, or some sharp objects like nails, etc. But you won't feel any of it because your mind and your eyes are focused on nothing but the destination. I remember when I was at Kerwat National High School, about PNG, I took part in a major cross-country race to Kokopo. At that time, I never wore shoes or sandals. I was barefooted. As soon as the get set go was given, we started running. I started running at my own pace and realized the coal tar was new and the sharp edges were really cutting into my bare foot. Everything around me was all blood, and I did not stop but kept going until the end. Everyone that was wearing shoes ran so fast and went away ahead of me, and I was still struggling to run faster on those sharp, hot, cold tars in the middle of the day. Anyway, out of some 200 or so runners, I came in the first 20. Then I was rushed to the sea. I just rushed to the sea and released all myself shouting in the sea until all the pain and heat left me. Then I came up, registered with the authorities as required. The point I'm trying to make here is that although I was barefooted and had too much blood on my feet, I still could not feel the pain during the time I was running. I only felt it after arrival, forcing me to jump into the sea and stay there for 1 or 2 hours until I got okay, became okay. That's the kind of thing I'm trying to explain here. The amount of pain that I'm daily and continually carrying upon my shoulders for the welfare of my million clients and investors around the world, including my government of Papara, Mekamoy, and Rank Assembly of Nations and Kingdoms, is just too much and too big compared to any other pain that tries to attack me. That's why I can't even feel anything if someone tries to shoot or cut me. I've given the above example of how I did not feel any pain whatsoever, even though the shot from M16 bullet was supposed to be very big and deadly. Again, I'm just trying to explain what the words of Prophet Peter Donov, where he specifically said that it's only through sufferings and difficulties that man will raise or awaken his consciousness to accomplish great things in the new system or new civilization or new kingdom, new culture, etc. Without such suffering and difficulties, it's just not possible for man to awaken his consciousness and change or transform things for the better. Let me give another example. Recently, someone said as I said already, someone said on social media that the king is going to die. Another one on social media said he was going to die from asthma. I just felt sorry and sympathized for them because they don't know what level I reached before graduating last year. My graduation last year was my last and final out of 3 graduations. My first graduation in 1998 was because I completed all my training and qualified to graduate and kickstart the university system. My second graduation in 2016 was also because I completed everything I needed to complete in the universe. My third and final graduation last year was also because I had completed everything mankind can ever imagine to do in the universe regarding life, abundance, eternity, and everything else you can only read in the Bible, in Daniel or Revelations. In other words, I've already defeated all the powers and all the authorities in the universe that bind mankind. I've defeated everything, including the powers of sickness, disease, pains, and agonies, death, and so on. I've conquered them all through the sufferings and difficulties I've gone through. As I said, I can't feel any pain, and in fact, I've already forgotten how to feel pain. As I said above, it's the same as you cannot feel any pain from sharp broken bottles, etc., while running long-distance cross-country marathon races. Since I'm running the longest marathon race in the world, I just cannot feel any pain whatsoever while running. Sometimes I ask myself, why do people feel pain? And the word comes to me confirming that they don't have any real vision or goal to accomplish in life. If they set goals and run towards their goals, they will focus all the energies and attentions on the goal and not on the pains and difficulties. It's the same with the power of death. As I said, I have already conquered the power of death in my life. I'm not here to die and leave you alone. I'm here to live and save you and everyone else from all the worldly powers that have enslaved mankind since time immemorial. That is a very small power. We can defeat it if we are determined. I've defeated it already, and it does not have any more bearing on me. I'm sure in the process of time, all of you too will reach the stage I've reached and also conquer the power of death in your personal life. It's not impossible. I know how I did it, but I can't really explain it to you in 1 minute. You have to learn it through the process of suffering and difficulties, because that's the only way your consciousness will be awakened and or raised to accomplish great things, including defeating the power of death, power of sickness, power of pain, etc., etc. Some time ago, I shared from Scripture explaining how Apostle Paul said that the last and final power to be defeated is the power of death. And that's why I'm telling you now that I've already defeated the power of death. Now it's your turn to follow me and also defeat the power of death. Why should sickness, pain, and death be any problem to you? God Almighty has already given you all the power and all the authority to conquer and defeat those powers and rule and reign with divine power forever and ever. The time has come and it's here now. Let us put it into action and realize the results. Now, some of you might be wondering when you see me coughing or sneezing a lot. Since my childhood, I had some issues with mucus. Sometimes the amount of mucus increases or goes beyond normal and I have to spit out. That's why you can hear me coughing once in a while to reduce the amount of mucus from my nose and throat and keep working on our project. It has nothing to do with cough like asthma or something. That's just how it has been since my childhood. It has absolutely nothing to do with asthma whatsoever. I'm forever healthy and free from all forms of diseases, sicknesses, and even free from the power of death. When I analyze things myself, I realize that the reason why I keep having issues from mucus is because the person I'm following, Wakantano, also had a similar issue. According to our cultural history, the little kids at Papaya had to drink his mucus or sweat before he could cause the miracle to happen and create all kinds of food from the big clay pot and bless our people around the island. Since I'm following his footsteps, it's no wonder why I also have mucus issues, but that's just my own realization. I've studied on the internet and found that according to some very powerful Indian doctors, mucus is one of the best forms of resistance our bodies create to fight or stand against all kinds of intruding bacteria or germs that might cause you to become sick. The body produces enough mucus to stand against the intruding germs, bacteria, disease, etc. So really, mucus is a good thing for the body. It helps us to win our battles against all kinds of diseases, etc. It's only when there is an excessive amount of mucus that we begin to cough or spit it out. So in other words, since my body produces excessive amounts of mucus from time to time, I'm often forced to cough or spit it out. The fact that my body produces excessive amounts of mucus only means that I always have more than enough resistance forces with me which can stand against any enemy or bacteria or germ that might try to harm me. That's how I'm forever healthy. However, after completing my project, I like to reduce the amount of mucus in my body and just have the correct or optimum amount. It will be done at the correctly appointed time. So make no mistake, we are reaching a very powerful stage in world history where diseases, sicknesses, and death will be no more. We are indeed creating heaven on earth. The power of disease and power of death that came upon Adam and Eve after they fell from grace in the Garden of Eden should no longer be an issue to us. We now have the power and the opportunity to conquer and defeat all the powers of disease, pain, and death forever. When the new system is fully operational, death, sickness, and pain will be no more. I've already won them. Now it's your turn to do the same. The Bible. And some time ago, I shared on how the Jews used the Bible to condemn their Messiah. They interpreted the Bible in such a way that it did not match the coming of the Messiah then. So they used the same Bible to condemn and crucify the Savior when he came to his own country. It's the same. Most Christian churches today in PNG and Solomon Islands use the Bible to condemn me and Jewish faith. You can read it on the media how all the churches came together and jointly condemned me, Jewish faith and King Upeii, etc. Therefore, the Bible is a very dangerous book also. You see it according to the law of love, and you use it according to the law of love, and you will never ever go wrong. But if you read the Bible with foreign religious interpretations, you will begin to condemn again what what I'm doing here for you. You can just look at the social media and see how the different churches are condemning each other. Catholics condemn Lutherans, vice versa. Lutherans condemn Catholics. SDS condemn Catholics, and vice versa. JWs condemn SDAs and Mormons and so on. Every church seems to think that they are the only true church in Christendom and that all others are technically wrong. That's the Western interpretation and mindset imposed on us by our colonizers. If you continue to serve those foreign interpretations, you will not fit into the kingdom mindset we're entering into now. Therefore, my advice to all of you is to stay away from all forms of foreign interpretations and let us arise with our own interpretation of life. Everyone is part and parcel of the kingdom of heaven. No church is excluded. The same applies to all other world religions. I'm always happy to see people from all religions, even Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Baha'i, and all the rest of them joining us daily. They are all part and parcel of the kingdom of heaven. None is excluded, and no one is going to be rejected for joining the new system. As long as they are human beings created in the perfect image of God Almighty, they are part and parcel of the theocratic kingdom of heaven. If you're still hanging onto your little church doctrine from the West, just know that the church age expired at the turn of the century, or around 2000 AD. The church is not sovereign. It submits under the sovereignty of the respective national governments. That's why you can see that when all the national governments and countries in the West legalized homosexuality, lesbianism, same-sex marriages, etc., the church had no choice but to just follow suit and conduct official weddings for the homosexuals, lesbians, and so on. If they refuse to conduct such shameful weddings, the governments use their political power to remove the tax haven status, etc. The churches know that it's wrong, but because they have no political power, they must submit to the government and do those wicked, least shameful things. That's why the only way for the churches to do anything and save lives today is to join up with the sovereign theocratic kingdom and government of heaven. Under the theocratic kingdom and government of heaven, you have total freedom to do whatever you want for your life. Summary. Fellows, ladies and gentlemen, time has caught up with us. I have to cut short my speech here quickly and proceed to the actual conducting of our graduation. I have so many things to share, but time does not allow me to share them today. But just as I conclude, let me just say that I'm so happy with the progress of our reconciliation and unity with the ABG. After expiration of the Bougainville Peace Agreement on 15 June 2020, there's no longer any issue that should come between us. All Bougainville is happily uniting now to form one only powerful national government of Bougainville Island. Nothing can stop it. No one, no human hands, no whosoever has any power to stop the reconciliation and unity currently going on today. It will definitely happen because it's time for it. I'm sure that the ABG will soon be coming again to approve this target and keep the ball rolling. As I always say, Pembrey chiefs, Uwestrek, and Papala are mediators of the Bougainville Revolution. We are not part of the problem. No, we are part of the solution. The split between our revolutionary leaders, Joe Kabui and Prince Honor in October 1996, plunged Bougainville into two main governments, now called ABG and Mekamui. Pembrey chiefs were the only appointed mediators between Prince Honor and Joe Kabui, having been approved by Joseph Kabui on 17/11/97 and Prince Honor on 19/12/1997. Pembrey chiefs then created the Uwestrek system in 1998 to find money for uniting these two governments. Pembrey chiefs also created the King of Papara in 2000 in order to protect the investments of Papara's clients and investors and so on. Kingdom and government of Papara is the official hardware protecting the Uwestrek system here at Tono City headquarters, Siwai. Within Bougainville, our hardware is the Mekamui national government, which I inherited from late King Francis Honor under the Twin Kingdom proclamations of 1811-2004. Now, as the tripartite governing system comes together and forms one only powerful government of Bougainville Island, USTRAC will have a new, solid and powerful hardware to protect the system. The incoming powerful government of Bougainville Island will now become the official hardware of the new system or software. We will have one only powerful government of Bougainville Island, which will comprise a House of Representatives, a House of Lords, Chiefs and Elders, and the King and Head of State. That is the structure that has already been practically legalized through the power of the invisible hands. That's what I have been working on ever since the signing and approval of Pembrey chiefs as the sole mediators of the Bougainville crisis or revolution. It was only after getting those approvals for mediation from the revolutionary leaders that I found of nations and kingdoms. Therefore, as the sole appointed or approved mediator of the Bougainville crisis or revolution, I'm so glad to see the eventual coming together of the ABG and Mekamui governments to form one only powerful government of Bougainville Island. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful to see our governments coming together at the appointed time? I feel so glad when I see it happening before our eyes. As I've said above, USTRAC and King Upeii is not part of the problem. We are part of the solution. The problem was or is between the two governments of our revolutionary leaders, Joseph Kabui and French Honor. The governments still stand on two totally different ideologies. Joseph Kabui's government submits to PNG, while French Honor's government remains free, independent and sovereign. The coming together is via the vehicle of USTRAC, King Upeii and RAN, World Assembly of Nations Kingdoms. Only those with eyes to see and ears to hear and the mindset to understand will comprehend the unique strategy Bougainville is following to become the newest powerful nation on the planet. Conclusion. Time has really caught up now. Let me just quickly close by saying that long after our long-awaited time has arrived. Firstly, our monetary system is ready. Secondly, our banking system is ready. Thirdly, our currency system is ready. Fourthly, our financial system is ready. Fifthly, our economic system is ready. Seventhly, our political and governing system is ready. Eighthly, our legal and judicial system is ready. Ninth, our education and training system is ready. 10th, our trade and commerce system is ready. 11th, our telecommunication media information system is ready. 12th, our religious doctrinal system is ready. 13th, our defense and security system is ready. 14th, our calendar system is ready. I can go on and on mentioning all the subsystems of USTRAC, but time does not allow me to do for now. In other words, the entire USTRAC system is now fully ready. That's why I'm now in the process of wiring actual funds everywhere around the world, including our own region of PNG, Bougainville, Solomon Islands, and Fiji. Our international funds became ready by 15 November last month. That's when we started wiring funds everywhere. It took another couple of weeks to set things out properly with foreign international banks. The funds are now in motion right now as I'm delivering this speech. By Christmas, by Christmas of the conventional calendar, that is today and tomorrow, you will be hearing or seeing some things that might be too loud or to crack your ears, to say the least. Our people everywhere are working very hard. Our people everywhere are working very hard to make things happen. I'd like to break the news only by saying that apart from our own people here on the ground, including the Mekamui and Papua governments, the governments of PNG and Solomon Islands will be the other beneficiaries of the system for their part in supporting the USTRAC and RAN system. Communications between our regional governments is going very well. I actually assured our regional governments of PNG and Solomon Islands the funds I'm wiring to the countries are firstly and foremost from our own local governments, clients and people of Bougainville and PNG. But from January onwards, I'm happy to release the funds to your governments, unquote. The funds I are transferred to our regional countries are already too big and too large. Some funds have already arrived and other funds are still in the process of arriving. The total amount is too much and too large for me to disclose publicly. Over the last few days, you might have seen our governor of the Central Bank of Bougainville coming in and out of my office almost daily. Sometimes I send him about 4 or 5 memorandums, internal memorandums per day, because things are really happening. Every transaction must be recorded properly in our central bank here and communication established. There are all kinds of funds in motion right now. Some are trade funds, others are borrowed funds, others are converted funds from BBK to US dollar, others are investor funds, and so on. They're all money anyway. That's why our governor of the central bank has been very busy dealing with other institutions, dealing with DTC, downtown, download, transfers, Euroclear and SWIFT, etc. Each institution is sending funds to us. It prefers its own way of borrowing funds. For instance, one of our institutions preferred DTC transfers, similar to Euroclear. It's known as Deposit Trust Company Funds, settlement system. Since we don't have that system in Tonu, I had to use one of my senior bankers in PNG to consult the agent to commit to accommodate the transfer. BSP cannot accommodate such transfers, only ANZ can. And we know that ANZ has now been bought by PNG, by Kina Bank. That's why I had to get our international manager in PNG to consult ANZ, which in turn had to consult the Australian headquarters. The process went very well, and you can all be rest assured that you will all see, hear, and get things during this season of Christmas and New Year period of the conventional Gregorian calendar. That's also why I had to get the PNG government involved, so we can give them their share of the deal. You know that once we pay these governments, they will just open up everything for the new system. The second and third tranches will be very, very easy and much quicker. That's exactly what's happening now, and I hope you will understand. There's actually no problem with the funds. The funds are already transferred and ready. I assure you that it will be ready by Christmas and New Year period of the conventional calendar system, and it's truly so. The funds are ready. For those of you here in Tonu and Bougainville, you will mainly be seeing hard cash in PNG Kina brought in for currency exchange purposes. These funds are in billions of euros and dollars as well. Our regional governments know about them already, but they can't get hold of them because they belong to me. They can't put their hands on them unless I release them formally under the rank agreement. So just stay focused as our national and regional bankers work around the clock to catch them and bring them to us. Everyone is working very hard. Let us put our trust on them to do what I've instructed them to do. Very soon, I'm going to formally declare BBK as the only national currency for Bougainville Island. That means all Bougainville will be using BBK for all the trade and commerce. If any shop owner or anyone wants to go to PNG or Solomon Islands to buy goods and services, they must show proof of tickets and other documents before we can convert the funds to PNG Kina or Solomon Gauda. Everyone on the ground does not need to worry about currency conversions because BBK is all for Bougainville. As I said, it's only when businessmen want to go shopping to PNG or Solomon Islands that we will be doing currency conversions for them. They will just give us the account numbers, PNG or Solomon Islands, and we'll wire the appropriately converted amounts of funds to them. Then they'll just go and buy the goods and bring to Bougainville according to the normal business operations. This is the step we'll be following for a couple of weeks or so before the arrival of our actual convertible currency. When the convertible currency arrives on the ground, it will complete the entire currency conversion process for us all together with our MasterCards, Gold cards, etc., etc. As you know, currently we have about 3 million BVK hard cash in circulation within Bougainville. That's more than enough cash for a little island nation. As I always say, in England, the amount of hard cash is only 2% of the total. The rest of the money, it's 98%, is called bank funds, like MasterCards, Visa cards, checks, etc. Even in America, the total amount of hard cash they have is only about 3% of the total funds in the country. So it's no different to us. 3 million BVK hard cash currently in circulation is good enough for now. The rest of the funds is bank funds, meaning that you can just go to the bank, IBOM or community bank, and withdraw or do transactions according to your needs and wants. Actually, the convertible currency amounts to about 170 million BVK currency, hard cash. It means that when it arrives, we will have too much hard cash available for a small island nation, apart from the big bank funds already in your bank account. So we'll have everything here. If you want hard cash, it will be too much for a small country. And if you want bank funds, it will again be too much in millions or billions for a small country. I hope you are getting the picture. Finally, but not the least, since funds are ready now, I too am ready now to start chartering planes and choppers to fly our guys from PNG to Bougainville for graduation. The IBG has extended their state of emergency period by 14 days. So it's good timing for me to work around and bring our PNG clients or investors for graduation. I will have to stop now and proceed to the actual graduation ceremony now. But just before I go, let me remind you again that our funds are truly ready. During the special festive season of the conventional calendar, you are going to begin seeing what eyes cannot see, no ears cannot see, and so on. But please remember to keep my code of ethics. I will help. The code of ethics will help you go through life to overcome and conquer all powers and all authorities in your life. In that way, you will enjoy the richest blessings God has bestowed upon us through His system. Thank you.